They will come back, and I have other things to tell them, things they may not wish to hear. There is one chair in this room in which no one has ever sat. It belongs to memory. It belongs to a man who will not return. I told him that all my life, whenever I've seen more than two men together, I've seen foolishness and I have seen cruelty. He gathered around and whispered, I said. Only children like himself, or men without fathers, men seen smiling to themselves. Who came to my house, and to what was discussed at my table? It wasn't shyness or reticence that made me spend my time in the kitchen when they came, it was boredom. Wilt thou be made whole? And then my son said to him, take up thy bed and walk. The man stood up, Marcus said. Do not doubt that he stood up, walking away as if his legs were perfect. Next door to the house of my cousin Miriam was the house of Lazarus. With Lazarus, the glow was on display from the very beginning. Lazarus had been 4 days in the grave when my son and his followers reached Cana. At first they noticed just the tears, but then his crying came in howls. By the time they reached the house, he could barely walk. I was ready to keep him in one of the inner rooms of Miriam's house until we could slip quietly away to Nazareth. As I moved towards her to stop her speaking, she repeated the words, including death itself. Lazarus may merely be the first. That is what we have been waiting for. And this is why the crowds have come here. I almost asked her if I was now alone in believing that if he had raised a man from the dead, then there was no hope for him or for any of us. That he had mocked the very way that things are in the world, and they would follow him, those who held power, and they would find him. We set out for the wedding. It was hard not to watch Lazarus being helped along by his sisters. And then my son arrived. He was wearing rich clothes and moving as if they belonged to him as of right. And I wanted to shout to him, to tell him who he was and where he came from. And though healing the sick belonged to others, raising the dead belonged to nobody. And though others saw it as a miracle, I saw it as the end of everything. Until somebody shouted out, he has changed the water into wine. And others shouting and begging for the bride and the bridegroom to sample the new wine. One of them with a cup in his hand, proclaiming how strange and unusual it was for the host to have kept the good wine until last. All of these people here are in pay of the temple. All of them are here to shout for the freedom of the other prisoner. And so your son will fall. It is the beginning of our redemption, a great new dawn for the world. For the nailing part, we stood back. It's easy to say those words now. The nail. Each one of them was larger than my hand. Maybe I should have run towards them then, no matter what the consequences would have been. It would not have mattered. But at least I would not have to go over and over and over it now, wondering how I could not have run towards them and just pulled them back and shouted out words to them. How I could have just stood there and remained still and silent. In the last hour, the anguish of hanging in the sun, with nails in your hands and feet, comes in fierce shrieks and then gasps. I tell the truth not because it will turn night into day. I tell the truth because the truth must be spoken once in the world. We slept leaning against a well which went deeper into the earth, yielding a cooler, sweeter, clearer water than any other wells. sun was up and we were alone. We were both woken by the sound of water gurgling up from the earth. I put my hand in it to see if it was real. And then I heard Maree gasp because now the water was rushing out of the well. Because we spoke freely of what we had dreamt. Our guardian heard every word. Something changed in him then. He began to smile and said it was part of what had been foretold. They want to make what happened live forever. What is being written down, they say, will change the world. The world, I asked. All of it? Yes, he said, all of it. His father sent him into the world so that he might suffer on the cross. His father, I said. His father! And impatiently, he began to tell me what happened to me at my son's conception. He barely listened. I knew my happiness in those first few months felt strange and special. His suffering was necessary. It was how mankind would be saved. Saved, I asked. Who has been saved? Is that what it was for? You were there, he said. You held his body when we took it down from the cross. You watched us cover his body in spices and wound his body in linen cloth and buried him near where he was crucified. He died to redeem the world. I was there for most of it, I said, but I fled before it was over. But if you want witnesses, then I am one. And I can tell you, if you say he redeemed the world, I will say it was not worth it. Not